Hi, everybody. Welcome to Something to Talk About. And yeah, I'm going to be covering Tytos Blackwood today. And it's almost becoming a Riverland week, not on purpose, but it might actually be a Riverland month. But before we get into that, we have to say, hi! Welcome to Something to Talk About. My name is Taco. And yeah, so I'm covering Tytos Blackwood. And then later in the week, I'm covering Ambrose Butterwell. And those are just two characters I wanted to cover. I didn't even think about it. I just put them next to each other. I'm like, oh, they're both from the Riverlands. Cool. I'll call it a Riverland week, right? And then next week, I decided I should just cover some Raymonds. So I'm going to be covering Raymond Fossaway, who's not from the Riverlands. It's the only one not. And then Raymond Derry, who is in the Riverlands. So Raymond Fossaway, not Riverlands, but he's the only one. And then I'm doing finally my Frey week in a couple weeks. So it's pretty much this entire month is going to be almost completely in the Riverlands, except for Raymond Fossaway, who's a Reachman. But yeah, so welcome to just hang out in the Riverlands for a while. So if you're wondering what's going on and why I'm just doing this is what's going on. You can pause this, read it. But yeah, I do a Song of Ice and Fire vids, and I cover lesser known characters. You guys know this. Welcome. Subscribe if you've never been here before. And if you've been here before, welcome back. Let's get into it. Let's get into Tytos freaking Blackwood. Man, I'm just pumped. I'm a big Riverlands guy, and also I love covering those characters during the War of the Five Kings, and that's what this dude is. If you're a High Lord from the Riverlands, like most of your story is the War of the Five Kings. That's what I'm starting to realize when I cover like Jason Ballister or any of these other characters. I don't know why he was the only one that popped in my head. I've covered a lot now. Mark Piper, Riverland guys. It's just like War of the Five Kings, War of the Five Kings, War of the Five Kings. After the War of the Five Kings, they either died at the Red Wedding or they got a little bit going on. Okay, and yeah, we'll see which one he is. So yeah, Tytos Blackwood. Let's go. Tytos Blackwood is the Lord of Raventree Hall and head of House Blackwood. Woot! One of my favorite houses. In the Riverlands, he is thin and tall. He's a thin and tall man, though not as tall as his 17-year-old son, Hoster. Who is also 7 feet tall. Is almost 7 feet tall. His son's 7 feet tall. Damn. Wow. All right. Good old Hoster. All right. We're not covering Hoster. We're covering Tytos. He has a close cropped salt and pepper beard, a hooked nose, and a long hair. Wait, hooked nose? Is he related to House Kettleblack? No, he's not. I just haven't seen a character described with a hooked nose since I did my Kettleblack week. So I was like, Kettleblacks are secretly Blackwoods. Figure it out, guys. Work on it. They got the same colors. They got both black and the same, Blackwood, Kettle Black. Get on it. Oh, that's stupid. All right. Lord Blackwood appreciates honor and chivalry. Tytos has a feud with Janos Bracken. Of course, the Blackwoods and Brackens. You guys know this. Tytos and Lord Janos once visited Riverrun to lay their quarrel before Hoster Tully, Lord Paramount of the Trident. Tytos owns bright yellow armor, okay, inlaid with jet in a elaborate vine and leaf patterns. All right, that's cool, I guess. Another armor he possesses is burnished scarlet, featuring a silver inlay dead weirwood tree of the Raventree Hall, surrounded by onyx ravens taking flight. Wow, that's some pretty cool armor. He often wears a magnificent raven feathered cloak. Dude's a well dressed. That's all that paragraph meant, man. The guy dresses up. He's done to the nines, this guy. All right. Tytos has 7 children. Bro's busy. Brendan, Lucas, Hoster, Edmund, Alan, Bethany, and Robert. Some decent names, I guess. All right. So let's just move on to, like I said, one of my favorite houses. I can't believe I've never covered a Blackwood before, so I finally just get to talk about House Blackwood. So let's go. House Blackwood of Raventree Hall is a old house from Raventree Hall in the Riverlands, right? one of the main families sworn to House Tully of Riverrun. They once ruled the Riverlands as kings. Who didn't? Even I did once. During the Age of Heroes, they blazoned their arms with a flock of ravens on scarlet surrounding a dead weirwood upon black. That word. Etrictron? Dude, I don't know freaking like maps sigil names, okay? Not maps, flags. I don't know flag words. House Blackwood rules over wider domains and can field a much larger army than their overlord House Tully. Raventree is located in Blackwood Vale, north of Riverrun and the Red Fork. Multiple Blackwoods have been described as tall and thin, including Benjicott, Lord Alisane, Lord Tytos, Hoster. Melissa Blackwood is also described as slender. They're all slender, thin, slender, gaunt, and I guess this dude's got a hook nose. We'll get back to that. Believe it or not, that comes up later. All right, let's get into the war right away. Start of the war. It's the first thing you do when you talk about these Riverland houses. After war breaks out, Jaime defeats a small Tully force at the Battle of the Hills below the Golden Tooth. Jaime and Tywin invade the Riverlands. Jaime marches directly onto Riverrun, where Sir Edmund Tully has assembled many of his father Hoster Tully's bannermen and knights. Edmure's force is diminished on account of the men he has sent to guard the borders at the Golden Tooth. So Jaime already beat them in response to the Lannisters' raiding. Tytos Blackwood participates in the battle underneath the walls of Riverrun, where Edmure and many of his knights and bannermen are taken captive. Tytos then leads the remnants of the Riverland forces back to the walls of the castle. Lord Tywin Lannister and his brother Kevin Lannister lead the capture of Tytos' castle at Raventree Hall. So he goes to Riverrun. He ends up kind of getting some men back into the walls as they lose. Edmure's taken captive, and when that's going on at Riverrun, the Lannister bros, Kevin and Tywin, take Raventree Hall. So yeah, that's a picture of Raventree Hall. This is a great picture. I got another picture of Raventree coming up too. So, all right, the War Council. So during the Battle of the Camps, Tytos leads an attack from Riverrun to take the middle of the Lannister camp in the rear and rescue Edmure Tully. So what did I just say? So the Battle of the Camps is right after Whispering Wood. So Robb goes to the twins, hangs out with Walder Frey, gets his marriage proposal, whatever. And then he goes down to free Riverrun. And first he does the Battle of Whispering Wood, where he kind of sends a couple of guys just like poke Jaime Lannister as he's sieging Riverrun. And then he follows a little couple guys up, and then he gets attacked by Northmen on all sides and loses. So after Jaime loses, then they take all their guys and they attack the camps that are outside of Riverrun, and it's called the Battle of the Camps. So during that fight, when all the Northmen are attacking the Lannister forces that are surrounding Riverrun, the door opens and Tytos comes out with his men and surprises them too. Battle of the Camps is freaking great. I love the Battle of Camps. I love a lot of the fights in the War of the Five Kings. I do. They're fun. All right. So after the victory, Lord Blackwood, being a follower of the old gods, joins Robb Stark in praying in the Godswood of Riverrun. During because he goes praying, and even though this dude's from the Riverlands, he does follow the same old gods as they do in the North. So he goes to the Godswood and prays with Robb. So yeah, it's like a connection they have. Blah, 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 blah. Where am I now? After the victory, they join. Okay, and Godswood. All right, during Robb's war council, Tytos is seated as far as possible from his rival, Lord Janos Bracken. Yeah, they don't sit next to each other. When Tytos suggests pressing against the Lannisters by joining forces with Roose Bolton's host and marching against Harrenhal, Janos argues that they should instead support Renly Baratheon. Tytos joins the other Riverlords in declaring Robb to be king in the North. Whenever I talk about the scene, it's always the same. A Riverland Lord's like, we should do this. And they start like discussing things. And then Great John goes, King of the North. And then next thing you know, they're all like, King of the North, and then he gets elected as King of the North. Well, not elected, but you know what I mean. He gets named King of the North, and that's when Robb becomes king. But it's always in the middle of a Riverlands guy, like, we should do, and then Great John's like, King of the North. I'm like, oh, fine, King of the North. Same thing that happened when the most recent one I covered was Jason Mallister, and that like exact thing happens. Jason Mallister has an idea, and then Great John interrupts by naming him king. But yeah, they don't end up doing that. They end up going to the west and attacking the Westerlands first. Yeah. Anyways, you guys know all that. You know all that. More war. Catelyn Stark suggests that Robb send Tytos, Jason Mallister, or Stephen Frey as an envoy to Balon Greyjoy instead of Theon. It would have been a good idea, actually. Given leave by Robb, Tytos departs Riverrun and leads the liberation of Raventree Hall. The Blackwood lands have been left a wasteland, however. So yeah, Gregor Clegane and all the other like Lannister forces have completely devastated most of the Riverlands at this point. So even though Robb's like, hey, I'm gonna go hang out in the west, and Tytos is like, can I go home? Just check it out. He's like, yeah, go ahead. Lift up the siege at Raventree Hall. So he goes and does that. So even though he has his home back, it's a bittersweet victory because all of his lands have been just completely burned and destroyed at that point. Poor Tytos Blackwood, I tell you. When Tywin marches west from Harrenhal, Edmure gathers House Tully's bannermen back to Riverrun after returning from Storm's End. Catelyn spots the scarlet banner of House Blackwood above Tytos' tent. Lucas Blackwood was one of Catelyn's escorts, and he meets with his father in the camps. Lord of Blackwood and Bracken both support Edmure's plan to oppose Tywin, the Battle of the Red Fork, and with the Battle of the Fords. I'm not going to talk about the Battle of the Fords. You guys know enough about it, right? But that's like kind of the main Rivermen battle against the Lannister forces, which ended up winning. But of course, Robb's then mad about it. So that's all I'm going to say about it. Again, it's another thing I cover whenever I cover Riverland Lord. And I'll be covering a lot this month. All right, a funeral and a wedding. A red wedding. Tytos is present when Robb Stark, King of the North, and Rivers returns to Riverrun from the raiding in the Westerlands. Lord of Blackwood is among the 7 nobles who launched the funeral boat for Edmure's father, Hoster Tully, Lord of Riverrun, into the Tumblestone. Yeah, it's another one of those things that I bring up a lot, but it's, you know, it was a really big honor for like these 7 really high lords to launch off Hoster Tully when he dies, like his funeral in the river. It's a beautiful scene, right? All right. During the red wedding, that's not a good one. It's not a good wedding. Tytos' son Lucas is cut down by Sir Hostine Frey, and King Robb is red weddinged by Lord Roose Bolton. What? He got red weddinged at the red wedding? Who would have saw that coming? It's like when Lou Gehrig died of Lou Gehrig's disease. That was a bad taste. Lord of Bracken accepts a pardon from the Iron Throne after the massacre, but Lord of Blackwood fights for his honor's sake. Yeah, so right after the Red Wedding, Janos Bracken's like, all right, you guys win. You can have, yeah, I will surrender to the Iron Throne, and yeah, I'm a Lannister man now. Sorry, guys. Sorry for that little rebellion. And Blackwood's like, Bracken, you stink. We don't surrender. We are gonna go home and lock the door, though. Bye. And that's what he does. So yeah, back to another siege at Raventree. The Brackens re-swear fealty to the Iron Throne and attack the Blackwood lands. Whoa! After the fall of Riverrun, Raventree Hall becomes the last Stark loyalist stronghold in the south. Yeah, so after Jaime goes and breaks the siege at Riverrun, the last one left is Raventree Hall, which already have the Brackens like sieging him out. So, with the rivalry between the Blackwoods and the Brackens going back thousands of years, neither side asks or offers quarter. Yeah, they're like, I'm not talking to that Blackwood / Bracken piece of crap. Well, the siege starts with skirmishes. It develops into a stalemate. Janos lacks siege towers, battering rams, and catapults, preferring to just starve out Tytos. Young Robert Blackwood dies from a looseness of the bowels. Oh man, that's a rough way to go. Uh, Lord Carl Vance implores Sir Jaime Lannister to go to Raventree and end the siege. Yeah. So Jamie just ended the siege at Riverrun, and then Carl Vance is like, dude, you got to go take care of Raventree Hall, man. They're just starving each other out over there. So, yeah, this is my final slide for the actual story for Tytos. And then, of course, I got my bonus slide at the end. End of the siege. Jamie arrives at Blackwood Vale to resolve the siege despite running low on supplies. Tytos refuses to surrender to his rival, Janos Bracken, saying that he will yield only to King Tommen. Meeting with Jamie in his solar at Raventree, Tytos surrenders to the Iron Throne, but denies knowing the whereabouts of Brendan Tully. Yeah, so Brendan Tully survives, unlike in the show, survives the siege at Riverrun, right? And he runs out. So when Jamie arrives there, he's immediately like, hey, surrender. Do you know where Brendan is? And he's like, no. You might. I don't know. Do you guys? That's not what I'm going to ask at the end. That's not like one of my theories. But do you guys think that Tytos Blackwood knows where Brendan Tully is? You might. Okay. So yeah, Tytos convinces. Where is it at? All right. Tytos agrees to give up some of his lands to House Bracken, although less than Janos desired, and to send gold and silver to the Iron Throne. What did I just say there? So that was a really important sentence because in the book leading up to this, Janos Bracken's like, hey, I want him to surrender, and I want this mill, and I want this river, and I want this cabin, and that rock over there. I want that rock, and this chair, and this remote. He starts doing. Is that a jerk reference? There you go, some Steve Martin. So he starts demanding all this stuff. So even Jamie's like, bro, why are you getting all this stuff? So when he goes and talks to, when Jamie goes and talks to Tytos Blackwood, he's like, all right, I'll surrender, but I'm not going to give him the chair and I'm not going to give him that rock over there. I like that rock. And it starts being this whole bargaining thing, right? Okay. Tytos convinces Jamie to take his son Hoster as a hostage rather than his only daughter, Bethany. Tytos requests to Jamie that Lucas's bones be returned so he can decently be buried beneath the Raventree Weirwood, in which Jamie agrees. Lord Blackwood alleges that Janos's natural son, Harry Rivers, was not actually fathered by Lord Bracken. Yeah, I'm just throwing that out there. Also, his son's a bastard. What? Okay. Anyway, so he gives up one of his sons to, did I say which one? Convinces his son Hoster. Yeah. So his 7-foot tall son Hoster Tully gets taken by Jamie after this, and then everything's resolved, right? So they lose some land to the Brackens, so on and so forth. So there is a really cool scene right after this with Hoster Blackwood having a conversation with Jamie about like those hills, Bethos Teats or whatever called, but the hills that are named after the boobs of Aegon the Fourth's mistresses. It's great stuff. Anyways, yeah, that was a really good scene, and I actually contemplated covering Hoster Blackwood first because I really like that scene. But the scene beforehand with Jamie and Tytos was a little better. Plus, as you can see, there's a lot to cover with Tytos, so it was really great. All right, so I got one last one. So this is always my last slide. Is always about theories or whatever I can find. So I found a fun theory on Reddit by Taken Already's. All right, good for you, man. Or already is. Taken already is. He's married to Yoda. All right. Or she, I don't know. They call it a tinfoil post, but I don't think they are too far off. I'll explain. They connect all of the magic, such as Brendan Tully Black Raven, Blood Raven's green sight, Rhaegor's dragon dreams, and even all of the Stark's skin changing slash warging to them having Blackwood mothers, grandmothers, and great grandmothers. I misspelled Blackwood there. And the twice. And the Blackwood females carrying magic is why Tytos is protective of his daughter. Okay, so you know what I'm saying? So all these magical people, so you got the Starks and you got the Targaryens and you got Bloodraven. So this guy thinks that all of their blood or all of their magic is tied to the fact that they got to drop a Blackwood either as a mom or even a great grandmother here and there. I don't completely disagree with that, but or I completely agree with that either, but I'll get to it. So I agree when it comes to them carrying old god powers like green sight magic, but not the warging or the dragon magic like the dragon dreams. Those families are famous for that even before they got a drop of Blackwood blood. So what did I just say? So Bloodraven, yes, I think that the fact that he's got some Blackwood blood in him helps his like old god connection, Weirwood, green sight stuff. I think that's tied. I mean, Blackstreet's got a giant Weirwood, right? Like that's their whole thing. So I think that that's why he's got some Weirwood green sighty magic going on. But saying the Starks got their skin changing stuff from the Blackwoods, no way, man. They've been doing skin changing weird stuff as far as I know for a very long time. I don't think it's because somebody married Allie Blackwood. Cregan Stark, yeah, Cregan Stark married Allie Blackwood. Like that's back there, right? I don't think those two things are connected. But and then also Rhaegar having dragon dreams isn't because his great grandmother or grandmother or whatever it was a Blackwood. Nah. I think that we know Targaryens have been having dragon dreams since they first came over to the Dragonstone, like Dennis the Dreamer or whatever her name is, right? So, no. But I do think that there is a connection between green sight, weirwoody type magic to Blackwoods, but not like all magic is tied to Blackwood females. Nah, I don't believe that. And then I got another thing. So something notable is whenever a physical trait of a family have a lot of attention drawn to it. So after I wrote this, I should have went back and said, not every time, but a lot of the times. Okay, cool. So let me say that. So something notable is often when a physical trait of a family get a lot of attention drawn to it, it's often tied to a magical trait. You get what I'm saying? So Targaryens have silver hair and purple eyes and dragon blood and dragon dreams type magic. Starks have dark hair, long faces, all that stuff, and they got that skin changer blood. And Blackwoods also have a physical trait shared with them, with many of their family members are described as super skinny, gaunt, black hair. This needs to, or there needs to be a reason why we are told these things. I assume it's because they have a magical trait tied to them. You get what I'm saying? Magical traits are always tied to a physical thing, right? Dragon blood, dragon magic, being able to bond with the dragon. And of course, Nettles. You're going to throw out all these other people who've done it, but it's always the Targaryens have that specific look, right? Starks have that specific look. Danes, we don't know enough about them, but we know they have that specific look. They probably got some magical stuff going on. Whenever we're like, oh, that's the blah, blah, blah look. Now, why I went back and said often is because the Krakels all kind of look the same. All the Blackwoods had Blackwood noses, right? But there's got to be a reason why we're always tied to these these families for thousands of years, bringing down these traits. It might be because those specific families are tied to some type of magic. Of course, not always. I don't think the Kettle Blacks are tied to magic. They all just got weird, ugly noses. But the Blackwoods are always described as little skinny dudes, right? Or tall, gaunt, skinny dudes. Even Big Walder was a skinny little Walder, right? And then his cousin, Small Walder, was a big Crackle Walder. But it's because Blackwoods are really skinny. What's her name? Black Allie, Cregan Stark's wife, super skinny, right? Like they kind of got that whole look to them. All right, I'm just ranting about genetics now. I'm infected by your genetics. That's a song. Go look it up. All right. Talk to you guys later. Thank you for watching my Tytos Blackwood vid. I'm saying goodbye before I'm actually doing an outro. And this is your first time. Thank you for this. Kind of a long one. Thank you for watching. And click like, subscribe, do all that jazz. Play some jazz too. Go do that. And yeah, let me know what you think of all this nonsense I just said in the comments. And check out the rest of my stuff. I'm covering a lot, and I'm hanging out in the Riverlands a lot. All right? Just letting you know I'm going to be here for pretty much the rest of the year. And yes, the elusive Frey week is coming up. I'm getting bugged about it in my comments. So, yeah. All right. Cool. Peace. Screw Brackens.